Welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning. So today we're going to talk about why delegation can feel so hard and how to let go without losing control. So you might have looked at your workload and thought, oh, I know I should be delegating more, but honestly, it's just quicker and easier if I do it myself. Or maybe I really have too much on, but I just don't want to dump this on my team. Or maybe if I hand this over, I'll probably just spend more time explaining it than I actually spend doing it. If you've thought any of these things, then welcome to the world of delegation. It's one of those management skills, and I think it is a skill because it's something you can learn. And it sounds simple, but it's actually really connected to confidence because effective delegation, it it asks us to basically step back and ask someone else to do something. So today we're going to explore why delegation can feel difficult, what might be getting in the way for you, and a simple framework that I think you can use to delegate in a way that's going to build your confidence to do it, your capability, and hopefully also your trust in your team. So you're going to understand why managers often hold on to too much work, the difference between delegating, dumping, and rescuing, how to decide what you actually should delegate and what you shouldn't, and a simple framework to delegate effectively. And then I've got a bit of a challenge for you at the end to help you to start building the habit straight away. So I think the tension with delegation is that you're constantly balancing potentially competing needs. So you want to deliver high quality work and you want to support your team, but you also want to develop people and you're also under pressure. So it's very easy to slip into one of these three patterns: over control versus empowering people. So you might think, oh, I need to kind of stay close to this. I need to know the detail because I'm responsible for the outcome. And yeah, okay. As a manager, you may be responsible for outcomes, but that responsibility does not extend to doing everything yourself. Good managers are people who create results through other people. The second area of tension is dumping versus development. And I know this because I talk to people about it. And some managers will avoid delegation because they're worrying. I just don't want to give my people too many tasks. You know, they're aware that they have a certain limit to their capacity. They don't want to overstretch people. But there's a distinction, right? Delegation is not about just getting rid of work that you don't want, like shoveling shit downwards, as they say. Although you might actually have to do that as part of your role. But it's about creating opportunities for people to actually learn and for people to stretch and for them to actually build their capability, which, let's face it, for most of your team members, that's probably what they want to do. And they're only going to do that when you give them the opportunity. It requires you to delegate that work so that they can. The third area is rescuing versus stretching. Quite impressed with these titles, I have to say. But this is a big one because sometimes you might be very tempted to step in if you see someone struggling, or if someone gives you back some work and you think, oh, Christ, there's quite a lot here that I'll need to give them feedback on. It'll be quicker if I just, fix it and like smooth it over for them and just send it to the client or whatever. And sometimes that actually might be necessary. But if we're always like rescuing people, i.e., we're just grabbing the work and just doing it ourselves and sorting it all out, and their development is going to require possibly a bit of a stretch and a few drafts. So I want you to think about when you are under pressure, or let's say when time is tight, where do you tend to go? Do you avoid delegating completely because I've just got too much and I haven't got time? Do you take things back? Do you tend to just fix things yourself instead of giving them the opportunity to do it? I know I've probably done all of those in my time as a manager. So no judgment, but just good to know. So if you're not delegating, or if there are moments when you're not, let's have a look at why. So let's say we're bought into the idea, in theory, that it's valuable and that we should do it. So why don't we? What is it you're actually struggling with? And sometimes this is where I think the confidence stuff comes in. But let's see. So some of the common reasons are, it's quicker if I do it. Which, maybe in the short term, that's true. But are you thinking about the long term or even the medium term? Yes, it might be quicker on that very day if you just do it. But if that's a task that is going to reappear every week for the next 3 years. Is it really quicker if you just do it every week for the next 3 years? Or is it actually quicker? Build the capacity in someone else to do it so that you never have to do it again. If you own the task, you're always going to own the task. But if you let somebody else own the task, they're going to own the task. And then one day they'll delegate that to somebody else too. So, in the long term and even in the medium term, probably it is actually quicker. I always think of, and this is not a delegating example, but I always think of how our brains get a bit skew whiff on this. So, especially stress brains, they get very skew whiff on this. But I remember back in the day when none of us could touch type, right? Everyone can do it now. But back in the day when none of us could touch type and we all like looked at our fingers and it took us ages. And I said, I want to learn how to touch type so I can just type really, really quickly without looking at the keyboard. And I found this course that I could do, took about 3 hours. And then it was going to take me about 3 days, I reckon, of being really slow. And I had to have this kind of board over my keyboard so that I couldn't look at my fingers. That was how I learned. And I said to my colleague who also was in this situation, "Oh, do you want to do this course that I'm doing?" She was like, "Oh, like how long is it going to take?" And I was like, "Well, I'm guesstimating, and I was right actually, that it takes about 2 hours, and then I'm going to be like quite slow at typing for about 3 days, and then I should be able to touch type." And she was like, "Oh no, I can't do that. It take too long." Wah, wah, right? You've spotted the short term thinking that her brain offered. And this is a smart woman. I'm sure she did learn to touch type eventually, but she thought that being slow forever was preferable to being slow for 3 days. And that is the same thinking as, oh, it's quicker if I just do it when it comes to delegating. Another reason why you might not is fear of poor quality. So, sure, you're a high performing professional, all my people are, but you might have, developed your reputation on doing things really well and, handling things that are potentially tricky or difficult. And someone's first attempt is very unlikely to look like the attempt that you've, been working on for the last 3 years. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but you may fear poor quality because you may get poor quality. You may get someone's beginner when you're getting your own experienced. But they ain't never getting to experienced unless they can pass through beginner and intermediate. And it is delegation which is going to get them to experienced. That's what gets them to high quality. But you fearing poor quality in the beginning is going to have you never getting them to experience. Guilt is another reason. I hear this quite a bit like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm like dumping work on them. And that I think comes from good intentions. Maybe you've experienced people dumping work on you before and it's been like a shit show. But if you delegate thoughtfully, it doesn't mean hanging on to everything yourself. You definitely shouldn't be doing that. But if you delegate thoughtfully with clarity and with support and development in mind, you're not dumping, you are investing in their development. You're investing in them. And you're kind of saying, you're kind of saying, I believe in you. I believe in your ability to develop. I can see a future version of you, which is so much more experienced than the version that I have now. And I believe in that. And therefore, I am going to help you to move towards that purposefully. You also might feel loss of control. And this maybe is one of the biggest ones. Because delegation does require some trust. And you might have to think about this loss of control might also be your own fear at not being in the detail of everything. Because very often, if you've risen through the ranks, which most people have, you have been in the detail. When you're an individual contributor, you are in the detail. You might be the one doing all the doing, right? So you have a really good handle on all the detail of the things that you're working on. But likely, as you become a manager, as you get more senior, you relinquish some of that detail and you enable other people to take control of that. And sometimes that freaks people the fuck out. They're like, if I don't know all the detail, I don't know what to do. I can't wing it. I can't fake it. I can't pretend. I don't know. This is unsafe. This is unsure. And that is an area definitely for coaching because you are going to have to get if you're going to be a manager and a leader, you're going to have to get okay with not being in every bit of detail and knowing that your skills, your experience, the years that you've got behind you is enough. There are other people in the detail and it can't be you anymore all of the time. Yeah, you might sometimes have to get up to speed on a detail on a particular matter or a particular thing if something's happening, but it's not going to be like that anymore. And the sooner you get more okay with that, the sooner you'll feel more comfortable delegating. So, what's the cost of not delegating? And you might already know it because you might be in this position, but imagine a manager who holds on to everything. They're probably overloaded. The team might be busy, but not necessarily actually developing. So you've got a lot of capacity and experience, but no one else is really developing any. People are going to be waiting for approval. You could become the bottleneck and eventually, potentially, burn out because there's just too much on you and or get very frustrated that everything has to come through you and nobody can do anything without you. Your team may also become completely frustrated. Most people want to develop. They want to take ownership and get their teeth into something where they can see themselves progressing. And if you're not delegating, they're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have capabilities within the team. Like people could develop, but they're not getting the opportunity. So you've got completely unused, potentially wasted potential within the team. And, if all of that is happening, you may actually see a quality or a deadline slip or reduction. And the irony is that you were trying to protect quality and keep everything, but actually over time, you could end up reducing it. Certainly, the quality of your sanity is going to be reducing over time. So, when should you delegate? I think it's useful to ask yourself a few questions. So, could somebody else do this with support? Maybe not perfectly today, but with guidance, could somebody else do this with support? Yes or no? Will this task reoccur again? If this is a reoccurring thing, developing someone else to do it is going to pay massive dividends. It creates capacity for you and it develops them. And ask, does it develop capability or judgment? Some tasks are incredibly valuable because someone's going to really learn something from doing them. And I want to share a model here that I quite like. I don't share these very often, but I think in this instance, it's useful. And it's called the share model. If you Google it, you will find it. So S is for select. So choose the right person. Think about skills, capacity, capability, development goals, not just who's available or who your go to person always is, but who could grow, who might have an interest, who wanted to work on this area or this kind of thing. And then H in share stands for handover. And when you do that, you want to be clear as possible. So explain what needs to be produced. What is the result? What is the product? Maybe you're going to give them what does a good one of these actually look like. Maybe the specific things that you need them to consider or specific people that they need to engage. Whatever it is, try and be as clear about it in handover. You're giving someone the best chance of actually doing a half decent job. Vague handover, it's going to create frustration for you because you're not going to get back what you wanted. What thing is in your head, they probably are not going to know. And frustration for them too, because they'll be like, oh my God, well, if you just told me that, I would have done that. So try and be as clear as you can. The A is for allow. And this can be the hardest part for some people. So once you've given those clear instructions, you want to step back. Allow them ownership. Avoid the temptation to check every detail with them. Different does not always mean wrong. Allow them to go at it. R means review. So I don't think delegation means just, disappearing. Agree at the outset when you'll check in what potential support they might need. How you're going to review progress. Are you going to check in with them after they've done a first draft by tomorrow afternoon? And then you're going to work on edits together until Friday? When are you going to review? How are you going to review? It's going to hopefully avoid you micromanaging, which God forbid you would be doing. But believe me, plenty of people are, and or you just abandoning them. And then E in share is for evaluate. This is a step that we all miss out on because we probably don't have time. But if you're going to do delegation really well, you will be evaluating. So you will be reflecting what worked, not just with the task, but with the delegation. Delegation is a skill that you can learn over time. And when you get really, really good at it, imagine how much more breathing space you might have to think about things that you should be thinking about at your level. whether that's thinking about more strategic decisions or more oversight or winning new work or how the department is run, right? Whatever it is for you, imagine what your team could be, you and them, if you're really developing them and skilling them up. People might even want to come and work in your team because they've heard how good you are at that. None of that's going to happen without delegation, but all of it could with it. So I said I was going to give you a challenge. Really, I'm just encouraging you to kind of put it into practice. So if you can, as you're listening to this podcast, maybe you can't, but go and do it as soon as you can. Open your to-do list or your priorities list. And I want you to look at everything you've currently got on and ask yourself, could I delegate this? And just put a D or something by every single thing you think potentially you could. And just keep doing that. Every time you see what's on the plate, just look at what you could delegate. I had an old boss that used to be like, I don't do anything anymore. I delegate everything. And it was something he had to learn, and he learned it, and he learned it well. And that's when his team really developed and he was out doing the stuff that he should have been doing. Being a good manager or a good leader is not about being the person who can do everything. It's about creating a team of people who can do more. It's about increasing your team's confidence, their capability, their ownership, while freeing you up to focus on only the work that you can do. And when you delegate to somebody and you help them to learn, what you're saying to them is, I believe in you. I see you as the professional you will be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I believe in your capability and I am going to be here, come hell or high water, to help you develop it. And really, if that's not the role of a manager, I don't know what is. All right. If you want to come and work with me to develop your professional confidence, go to the link in the show notes, book a call, and I'm happy to speak to you about the areas you're struggling with, let you know if I can help. We also have the Confident at Work program for professional women. If you'd like to join that, you can also ask me about that too. And I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident. Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident at work.